This is Guy Bogart wishing that every cat had a home and a lap and that millions were not born to hunger and suffering. I like such messages as one received 4 months after a Pomona couple of devoted cat lovers had received a small kitten from me. It was used only to me, and Lee writes, "The tomcat has turned into the most confirmed lover you have ever seen. For about 2 weeks we couldn't get near him, and now we can't get away from him. But not all fare so well." Miss Bernice Mershon, whose stage experiences with cats from her operatic career we have been hearing, for a time after her retirement lived in Calamasa. She has sent a poem dedicated to an old yellow cat that found out he had a friend at her Calamasa house. He was afraid of folks, she explained, and, quote, "he never came to eat if he thought anyone was watching. Sometimes I hid behind the curtains and would see his long yellow body like a shadow from the cottonwood trees creep across the grass to the back door and quietly consume all the food in the pan," unquote. Here is Miss Mershon's poem, "Why?" dedicated to the stranger who came to my door. The starved yellow cat that comes to my door doesn't know that I'm moving today. He'll call for his dinner sometime after 4, then turn disappointed away. I wish I could leave him a note in his pan and tell him that I'm still his old pal, but a cat can't read like a milkman can, and I'm not a cat, but a gal. So he'll have to try to understand. Folks feed 'em and leave 'em, alas. This moving affair was not as I planned. Man's troubles descend in a mass. For me, it is bad. For him, it's the end. He is just a poor yellow cat, and now I desert him, his only friend. He'll ponder the cause on the mat. Deep in the hands of the Almighty One, I deposit this bundle of fur, for God has a love that doesn't miss one, especially one with a purr. Multiply that poor, pathetic cat by millions who should not have been born. We can't do much for them now, but we can help tomorrow's millions of unwanted cats and dogs by preventing their being born into a world where they can have no place. 1,000,000 little seeds airborne and a few germinate in the plant world, but that's something we cannot prevent. Yet all these unwanted, homeless, suffering puppies and kittens not yet born, we can help them. You'll be hearing more about animal birth control, the method of neutering on a plan the public can support. Let me read you a card sent to me by Mrs. William T. Schneider, Jr., chairman of the Long Island Anti-Vivisection League, which has carried out the most extensive animal birth control program that has yet come to my attention. Here is a plea sent out by the American Birth Control Committee for the unlicensed, unwanted, and unclaimed. Quote, "I ask for the privilege of not being born, not to be born until you can assure me of a home and a master to protect me and a right to live as long as I am physically able to enjoy life. Not to be born until my body is precious and men have ceased to exploit it because it is cheap and plentiful," unquote. How I wish we could have memorized that by every animal lover in America. Sometime again I shall read it over the air. A few weeks ago I read you some statistics from this Long Island Anti-Vivisection League and from the Good Shepherd Foundation of Los Angeles, and told you of that marvelous work being done in West Los Angeles by the Cat Care Club, which is making animal birth control an important factor of its work. Let me read you now from Mrs. Schneider's letter about a recent KFOX broadcast in agreement with her plea for an attack upon causes rather than upon effects. Quote, "I believe it was 6 years ago that my husband and myself pleaded with local humane leaders to adopt an intelligent program instead of relying upon the gas chamber to liquidate surplus pets. The statement, not denied by humane leaders, that 200,000 dogs and cats were killed in 1 year by the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals in New York City defeated any attempt to bring about a plea for humanity by the state legislature during the fight against the Metcalf-Hatch bill. That, by the way, is the bill which compelled the shelters to give up for vivisection any animals they wanted. It is my belief that the pound seizure bills are the result of a very bad condition which should have been corrected. It is sad that the animals must suffer for the mistakes of their protectors, but it is waking up humanitarians." Unquote. Did you grasp that killing figure in the city of New York alone in a single year? 200,000 dogs and cats were killed in the gas chamber. Think of the national toll. For a number of years, a few of us have been wondering what we could do nationally to bring about this widespread neutering. Alice M. Clark heroically has been fighting for the idea. She, for years, has been among the All-American winners in the fancy. So has Blanche Warren and other breeders, yet they realize there is no separation in the fundamental problem of all cats between the pedigreed and the ordinary cats. We cannot really go forward until the unwanted millions are not allowed to be born. We are finding the way. It need not be far ahead. I well recall about 35 years ago, maybe just a little longer, I sat one night in the studio of a distinguished artist in the old Music Arts Building, then the Blanchard Building. There were a score of leading artists, sculptors, and musicians gathered to talk with Margaret Sanger. She had been in prison for telling of birth control. It was criminal for anyone, even physicians, to publish what they knew. We were a handful of pioneers in a black America. Now that subject is in the open. Then came to us the subject of animal birth control. No public morals opposition, but a monstrous inertia. Could it ever be done? Alice Clark and I have wondered how Federated Group Incorporated, pledged to better legislation for animals, could make neutering its major crusade. Then I spoke at the Cat Care Club of West Los Angeles, where I found a group of devoted men and women, musicians, authors, highly cultured folks, and all devoted to cats. They are successful, but found neutering had to be a basic part of their program, and the funds are not there to carry it out on a big scale. I knew how the same problems had confronted the Good Shepherd Foundation folks, and they have been unable to secure funds to carry on their fine work. About the same time, through Dr. Ida M. Mellon, I found about the Long Island success. Here, then, is a clue. And, folks, we're off to the biggest and most fundamental crusade in the cat world. The nation is spending large sums of money to maintain our humane societies, to collect dogs and cats, feed them until they can go to the expense of slaughtering 200,000 of them in 12 months in a single city. We spend vast additional sums to combat the demands of the vivisectionists. We take energy and spend money to keep violent cat haters like the so-called Friends of the Birds from getting past their freak bills. In a dozen movements we spend plenty of money, all on side issues and effects instead of getting at the fundamental first cause. Watch about this one basic cause, oversupply of unwanted dogs and cats roaming the streets and countryside. Animal birth control will regulate the cause and give us humanitarian grounds for mercy and respect for animal life. The Long Island Group has demonstrated the basic fact on which we can approach our American public, that of costs. The birth control program on a universal national scale and accomplishing a permanent cure of the other problems costs an amazing amount less that we are now squandering on blind workings on effects alone. It isn't going to be easy, but now we have a platform. First, attacking causes rather than effects. Second, the costs of the animal birth control program reduce our expenditures. Third, the public will pay just what the individuals can afford. By contract arrangements with veterinarians in large-scale operations, this can be done on the above plan. Old man inertia doesn't move easily, not for a few people, but you and you and you and you can shift him easily. Now that we have a platform, I'm sure we can find a plan. I can't cover the subject in one talk or in several, but we'll come back to the subject often. It's the most important thing there is to talk about in the pet world until surplus cats and dogs are eliminated through animal birth control, and always remembering the whole program will be at a big saving over what we now spend without getting to first base. I'm sure you'll be interested enough to help keep maybe 1 million kittens and puppies from being born every year to live just long enough in suffering until they can end their joyless lives in the gas chambers of American cities or in the most cruel suffering and hellish deaths of the vivisection chamber. Oh, yes, Mrs. Alice Clark has promised us now and then a few practical thoughts on cat care. With animal birth control giving plenty of fine cats and dogs but no millions of unwanted strays, there won't be enough felines for a condition described by Mildred D. Wardlaw of Bellona, British Columbia, Canada, in the Cat magazine of England. Quote, during the logging operations in the British Columbia, the logs are formed into booms, which are floated down the river. The loggers live in camps on the booms and often have a cat with them to catch rodents. Often these cats are left behind after these huge rafts touch the shore, and when fending for themselves are hunted as a nuisance for the preservation and the sportsmen's clubs, unquote. Mrs. Wardlaw wrote this little poem to accompany her story, The Castaway Cat. She watched her home departing as the tide receded down the shingle of the bay. She wondered at the distance growing wide, not knowing why the boom had moved away. She prowled among the moorings when the night crept shadow-footed out along the shore. She sought in vain the yellow pane of light that beckoned from the galley's open door. She felt the pangs of hunger when the dawn stretched out her silver fingers to the sea. But now her link with humankind was gone. A wily, keen predator she must be. Man would not starve if he were cast away and had some means of fending for his own, yet man condemns her as a beast of prey. Is she to blame, deserted and alone? We shall close by repeating that plea of the unlicensed, unwanted, unclaimed. I ask for the privilege of not being born, not to be born until you can assure me of a home and a master to protect me, and a right to live as long as I am physically able to enjoy life, not to be born until my body is precious and men have ceased to exploit it because it is cheap and plentiful. This is Guy Bogart with love and joy to each of you and to the cats of all the world, with a prayer for their rights to be born only when love and a home await them. Nighty-night and happy purrs.